Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything is good wherever you are. So, guys, it looks like Golovkin and Canelo are going to obviously square off. We know that it's official. We know that it's going to happen. Canelo Alvarez has come out and said it's personal. Marco Antonio Barrera has said that Canelo wants to knock him out. Canelo does want to probably stop Golovkin in this fight. And maybe he needs to as well. Obviously, he lost to Dmitry Bivol in order to get some of his, some of his respect back that's been lost. Which, there's a lot of trolling going on. Maybe he needs to stop Golovkin. Anything but other than a stop or a close fight will probably be seen as a negative by some of the fans. So Canelo, like I said prior to this video, I said it in previous videos that Canelo's under severe pressure. Canelo's under a lot of pressure. And when I mean he's under a lot of pressure, I mean he's under severe pressure. I think Steven mentioned this as well, that Canelo has now backed himself in a difficult spot by going up and fighting Bivol and losing to Bivol. He's now under so much pressure when he fights these guys, because if he was to lose again, imagine if he was to lose to Golovkin, Canelo's done in terms of, like, you'd have to say that, where does he go from there? And not just that, his legacy would be hurt massively. All this stuff about Canelo saying I'm one of the best out there, all of that is basically wiped out because of the fact that he would have lost again. And the way the fans would perceive him, especially the ones that dislike him anyway, even his own fans, even some of the Mexican fans. I saw some Mexican fans turn on him on the Bivol loss, which I think was really harsh. Some Mexican fans saying he didn't bite down on his gum shield. Paulie Malignaggi said that. And there was many Mexican fans that actually agreed with the fact that, Canelo didn't go out on his shield. Canelo didn't really go for it. So this is what I'm saying. A lot of Mexican fans are very brutal and they're very harsh. Because, like I said, there's been some really good Mexican fighters. Some of the great fighters have been Mexican. And they expect that the bar for their fighters, the bar is very, very high. So when you lose the way Canelo lost against Bivol, that's not really accepted. Now, within Britain, if there was a fighter that had lost, like the way Canelo lost, it'd probably be more accepted, because Britain haven't really had many all-time great fighters. They've had some great fighters, don't get me wrong, but like Mexican boxing history, they've produced some of the really, really great all-time greats, the Chavezes, the Canelos, the Marquezes, the Barreras, the Morales. They've produced some real great icons of the sport. So the bar for guys like Canelo are very, very high. And that loss against Bivol didn't go down too well because of the way Canelo lost and the fact that people felt that Canelo just labored through. I don't think he labored through. I think he tried. I just think he came up against somebody stylistically that was horribly wrong for him and was just too big and too skilled. But now what that means is, because of that loss that he suffered against Bivol, he's under a lot of pressure going into that Golovkin fight. And he needs to put in an incredible performance. He needs to put in a great performance to get the fans back on his side. And a knockout is probably what's going to do the trick, or a dominant performance, because let's not forget, he's never dominated Golovkin as well. So that's another thing we have to remember. Canelo Alvarez has never dominated Gennady Golovkin. They've always been close fights. Some people even thought that, Canelo lost the second fight, let alone the first fight. So for me, Canelo is going to have to put in a great performance where he dominates Golovkin and arguably try to get the knockout against Gennady Golovkin, which we all know Golovkin is as tough as nails and he's a very, very hard man. So that's not going to be easy to do for Canelo Alvarez. So Canelo's going to have to, in my opinion, put in a career best performance against Golovkin to get the fans back on his side, to get his confidence back as well. Because if he's going to go into the Bivol rematch, he's going to need to have confidence. He's going to need to go back into that rematch, with a lot of confidence and believe in himself. Because look, sport is about, a lot of it's mental, a lot of it, what's up there. And when someone's out of form, right, it seems like nothing's going for you. And that's all mental, because you're already nervous. Your body's not moving the way it would if you're confident. It's like, I don't know if you guys watch cricket, but it's like when you're out of form as a batsman, it feels like you can never score any runs. Because here's the thing, you're tentative. Your footwork is slow, your body's not working like it should be, and you're tentative. And that's why you make mistakes. Same with boxing. Canelo's going to be going into that fight now. It's almost like out of form because he's lost. So mentally, he's not going to be in the same place that he was against Caleb Plant or against Billy Joe, because he went into those fights confidence and belief with the fact that everything that he was doing seemed to be working. He was dispatching of opponents. It was so easy. But now, what he was doing didn't work against Bivol, and he was outclassed. Also, what he's going to have to get over is the fact that he's now going in the ring with somebody that he's been in with twice, and he struggled with twice. I know a lot of people will say, well, he won the second fight. Fair enough. But he didn't find it easy. It was struggle. It wasn't like how normal Canelo fights are, where he generally dominates or starts to dominate. Canelo never dominated Golovkin at any point in their two fights. So he's going in with somebody that, from a mental standpoint, he knows that he's never quite managed to get the better of. So it's how Canelo... And a lot of you say, well, Canelo, he loves pressure. He deals with pressure. Well, no, because Canelo's never been in this situation before. The last time he was in this situation is when he lost to Floyd Mayweather. But he fought Angulo in the fight after that. A fight which he was going to win pretty easily. He's now fighting Gennady Golovkin, a guy that he's had two very close fights with, and a guy that he's never managed to dominate. So how is he going to come back from a defeat against Bivol? Because it's not like he's going in there with somebody that's a bum. He's going in there with Gennady Golovkin. Gennady Golovkin is a formidable fighter, and a guy that's given Canelo all kinds of troubles both times he's fought him. So the point I'm trying to make is, how is Canelo, after taking a loss, gonna come back, and not just come back against anybody, but come back against a guy that he's had a lot of issues with in the past? This is going to be something that's going to be very interesting for me to see, is how Canelo bounces back from this. And not just bounces back from this because I expect him to beat Golovkin. I expect him to go in there and beat Golovkin. I'm not expecting him to stop Golovkin, but I'm expecting him to beat Golovkin, right? Also, then I'm interested to see how he bounces back, not just from in the Golovkin fight, but if he fights Bivol, which I think he has to fight. There's no way Canelo cannot fight Dimitri Bivol. If he doesn't fight Dimitri Bivol again, I'm not going to say it's going to seem like a duck, but people are going to criticize him once his career is done, or for the rest of his career, because they're going to say he bottled it. He came up against a style that he struggled against. He came up against a style which beat him comfortably, and he never went back to rematch. Let's not forget, Floyd Mayweather, when a lot of people thought he lost to Castillo, he rematched Castillo right away. When Andre Ward, a lot of people thought he lost to Sergey Kovalev, he rematched Sergey Kovalev right away. Canelo's not rematched him right away, right? Canelo's got to rematch Dimitri Bivol. Okay, I don't have a problem with him fighting Golovkin, but if he doesn't fight Dimitri Bivol again, I think that will be a hit on his legacy, irrespective whether he's moved up weight classes or not, because Floyd Mayweather rematched Marcus Maidana. He could have easily avoided that fight. Floyd Mayweather rematched Castillo. I think the Castillo fight, he had to rematch. Floyd Mayweather had to rematch. Well, he didn't have to rematch Maidana, in my opinion, although that was a fight that, although the commentators had him winning slightly, there was many people that thought he lost that fight against Maidana, but nevertheless, Mayweather rematched him. So Canelo Alvarez is going to have to rematch Dmitry Bivol. Is he going to be able to beat Dmitry Bivol the way Andre Ward beat Sergey Kovalev and the way Floyd beat Maidana? This is going to be the interesting thing, because that's where we really find out how great Canelo is. That's where we really find out how great Canelo is, because Andre Ward and Kovalev, Andre Ward got the stoppage in the second fight. I'm not going to say Andre Ward made adjustments in that fight. I will say this: Andre Ward went down to the body and Kovalev's lifestyle probably caught up with him. But nevertheless, Andre Ward took advantage of that and he went down to the body, slowed Sergey Kovalev down and took Sergey Kovalev out. It was an emphatic win. Floyd Mayweather second time, although Floyd struggled against with Maidana again, the second time, a lot of people make out, yeah, Floyd won the second fight easy. No, he didn't. Floyd Mayweather had a lot of trouble the second time. It was just that the second time, there was no doubt that he actually won the fight. But he had a lot of trouble the second time. Maidana gave him a lot of problems again. But Floyd won the second time. With Canelo's going to have to try do the same. He's going to have to try not avenging that loss. Well, in his case, in Ward's and Mayweather's case, they actually got the decision, so they didn't have to avenge a loss. But in Canelo's case, he's actually going to have to avenge a loss. He's actually going to have to go in there and look to beat a guy who I actually think... See, when Ward lost to Kovalev, the fight, although I thought Kovalev won the fight, I thought the fight was pretty close. When Floyd lost to Maidana, when Floyd even had that fight with Castillo and Maidana, they were relatively close. They weren't one-sided. The difference is Canelo's fight was relatively one-sided in the sense that Bivol won that quite comfortably. So for me, Canelo has a much harder task, because I actually think Bivol's style is a problem for Canelo Alvarez. And that's the issue that Canelo's going to have in the Bivol fight. That Bivol's style is a problem for Canelo. That's the main problem. I think Floyd fighting Maidana or Castillo, I think Maidana's style was a problem for Mayweather. But I think Mayweather could adjust and beat Maidana. I'm not sure Canelo Alvarez can adjust and beat Dmitry Bivol. I'm not sure Canelo Alvarez can beat somebody as big and as skilled with that style that Dmitry Bivol has. I'm not sure Canelo can overcome that. And that's the difference. Floyd, you knew he could come and beat Castillo again. You knew he could come and beat Maidana. You had a feeling that Andre Ward could come back and be better against Sergey Kovalev. Although, if I'm honest with you, I did think Sergey Kovalev would win the second time. So fair play to Andre Ward. But with Canelo out, I still gave Andre Ward a much better shot in that second fight. You have to be honest. Canelo Alvarez, it seems much harder for Canelo Alvarez to come back and beat Dmitry Bivol. It seems like a much more daunting and much more difficult task for Canelo to come back and beat someone like Dmitry Bivol. Because Bivol, for me, is a very, very skilled fighter. I'll even go as far as saying that he's a lot more skilled than Kovalev. I think Kovalev's a bigger puncher, but I think this guy's a far more skilled fighter. That doesn't mean if Bivol and Kovalev had fought prime for prime that Bivol wins. But I do think Bivol is a big, big problem. I think Bivol's style, specifically for Canelo, is a huge problem. And that's what it is. It's not the fact that Canelo's not a great fighter. It's that style, I think, is a huge problem for Canelo. Is a huge, huge problem. So I don't know whether Canelo's going to be able to overcome that. And this is why I said that if Canelo is able to overcome and beat Dmitry Bivol, we're talking about all-time great stuff. Because Canelo would be beating somebody that has a style which is all wrong for him. And he's in his prime. So I would give Canelo a lot of respect beating someone like Dimitri Bivol. But again, it's going to be very, very difficult to do. But firstly, like I said, forget the Bivol fight. He's going to have to get past Golovkin. And that's by no means an easy feat. No means an easy feat. And Canelo's going to, in my opinion, in order to get some of the fans that are off his back, he's going to have to go in there and dominate and put in a stellar performance. Possibly go for a knockout. I don't think he will get a knockout, but even if he can dominate, that would be good enough. But let's see how Canelo gets on. Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in this comment section below. Do you agree with Marco Antonio Barrera that Canelo wants to knock out Golovkin? Leave your thoughts. And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.